Welcome to the last session of the day of the week, apparently. So you guys survived, and appreciate you toughing it out and being here at my session, because I was just deathly afraid that nobody was going to be here. Everybody's going to be downtown getting ready for the party tonight. So appreciate y'all coming and spending some time with us. I'm Ed Summers. I'm the Government Program Manager at SYNNEX, and we've got a lot of SYNNEX folks here in the back. So I'm sure they'll contribute to the session as we go along. The way we're going to break this down is I'm going to bore you with about 15 minutes of PowerPoint. Not really PowerPoint, but more discussion. And then we have some of our participating manufacturers, our sponsors, that are here today. And they're all going to each going to do an elevator pitch for about, I don't know, 10 minutes maybe, or however much time they have. And then you guys will have a chance to ask them questions. And I hope you have some really tough questions, really put them on the spot. Embarrass them, just make them sweat, because I'm already sweating up here and I want to see some other folks sweating too. So with that being said, also the order of the elevator pitch session will be based on when they got me their PowerPoints. So Shiloh's first. No, you're first. You're first by many, many days. All right, so I'm here to talk about GOVSolv, and I'm sorry about somehow I had a blip there when I was working on it earlier. But anyways, public sector, that's what we live and breathe. We have been really successful over the last 4 years. We've seen 60% growth over the last 4 years, and we're going to top out at over $2 billion in our public sector. We're really proud of that. We're very proud of that, but we're also more so appreciative of your partnership, of our customers, because without you guys that wouldn't have been possible. So that's a direct reflection on you, and again, we do appreciate your business and your partnership, and this would not have been possible without it. This session this week would not have been possible, so thank you. Give yourselves a round of applause. Yay. Thank you. So the way we break public sector down, I'm sure all y'all know this, we break it down: federal, state, local, education, healthcare. We do throw healthcare in there, and GSA. And as you can tell, it's the uptick, and this is always nice when you're in like a QEM, it's going upward. Each one showing nice gains, except for right there, that's education this year. And these are estimates, because we do have this month and next month before our final end of our fiscal year. But we are guesstimating that it's just not going to exceed last year's. But otherwise, looking pretty good, pretty strong across all segments. And then contract management. This is kind of new for us. We haven't really ever highlighted this too much. We talk about it, but it's really a big initiative for us moving into 2013. I'll talk a little bit more about that and how it applies to you. We also found we had hit 60% growth over the last 4 years, and we're gonna hit around 170 million this year. Which, when you look at the SYNNEX overall number, we $10.5 billion. A lot of people say that's a rounding error. Oh, if you round it one way or the other, there's your number. But, it's the beginning. It's a start for us, and we really feel like we have a lot to offer to make that number go up significantly. And what that means is business for you guys. Route to market, additional routes to market, and that's what we're going to talk about as well, too. So in GOVSolv, how do we see ourselves? Hopefully you see this, but we see ourselves in a role of empowerment. Empowering you guys with the right tools. And then making it easy. If we make it hard, no one's going to use it. Make it easy. Make it so you can put it into your operations, and then support it with the right staff, with the right professionals, from start to finish. Be there for you. And we feel like that is the key to our success, and hopefully that's what we've done to help you become successful as well, too. So there's a lot of different things that we do at SYNNEX on the public sector side, and I'm not going to go all over all that stuff, but I will highlight some things that I think you might be interested in or want to know more. Contract management. Nowadays, and everybody that's in federal can attest to this, I know it's the same in state and local, you can't grow your public sector business, you can't win business without having contracts, right? And it seems like more so I've been in it for 15 years, and it just seems like as we keep moving along, it gets worse. You have to have the contracts to close business. If you don't, you're just not going to win it. And so we see an initiative for us in either owning the contract or managing the contract for somebody else. And on GSA and on the federal side, of course, we have a GSA schedule. Who here is using our GSA schedule? Not a lot. Who wants to use our GSA schedule? All right, well, I'll give you my contact information. My team's in the back. We're more than happy to talk to you.
Can you tell me a little bit more about how that works? I'm brand new to it. I know what a GSA contract is, but I'm not aware. Can we use your schedule to sell? The whole concept I'm not familiar with as far as working through SYNNEX.
Good question. I didn't pay him either. That was a good question. We have, our strength on GSA is if you have your own GSA schedule, what do we have on our contract that you don't? So we have a lot of vendor lines that are exclusive or semi-exclusive to SYNNEX that they will not allow on other contracts. And so if you have a GSA schedule and you're a small business, then through a contract or teaming arrangement, you can access all 135 vendors that we have on contract and offer them through your schedule. Now you have to have the right vendor authorization. So if you don't have a vendor authorization, you can't sell it just simply because it's on GSA. But that being said, if you have the authorizations, yeah, you can boost up your schedule by 135 different vendor lines. How cool is that? I mean, that is something, right? And that's our strength. Now, if you don't have a GSA schedule like you were talking about, we do have a dealer program and an agent program. And the only difference there is who's doing the billing. So our dealers, they get to use our contract and do the billing. So you can bill your customer as you ordinarily would, and you're just telling them that you're an authorized dealer off the SYNNEX GSA schedule. And it's very simple. You know, when we first got into this years ago, we tried to make it really hard, and nobody sold off of it. Now, you know, we found that we have the right process in place. The dealer program is very easy. You call in your sales rep, say, hey, I need a GSA quote. All right, here's a GSA quote. When you get the order, we tell you how the PO needs to be structured, the end user PO, and then we go ahead and process it for you. We sell to you, you turn around and sell it to your customer. So it's the same process outside the contract as it is in for dealer. Now for agent, we would do the billing for the billing of your customer for you, and we'd pay you a commission. Now where does that come into play? That's really, it's kind of cool because it's free alternative financing. The executives of SYNNEX don't realize that we're giving that away for free because it is financing. You could go after $1 million deal with a $5,000 credit line and win it. And then we would go ahead and bill the customer. The customer is the federal government, so we still think they have an unlimited credit line. That may go away, but at the moment they have an unlimited credit line. So we go ahead and bill the government and pay you a commission. It's really, and then we have customers that use it tactically. You know, it depends on the order. You know, is it a credit card order? Do I want to take this order? Or do I want to flip it over to SYNNEX? I'm in the middle of buying season. Oh my God, I got this huge order. And I've already got all my credit, you know, I've already got it all laid out where I'm going to spend it. You could use that to supplement your credit lines. So it can be used tactically. I would say dealer is probably the best bet because it does grow your top line revenue. You internalize the revenue stream because you are buying it from us. HP, Panasonic, Lenovo, they get, when you buy the product from us, they see it on the point of sale. On the agent, they don't because we're doing the billing. That's about the only downside on the agent, and, but there is some practical purposes for that. Did that answer your question? So get with my team and we'll get you set up. We also have a contract with the DOE. Everybody familiar with the Department of Energy contract that we have? It's HP hard copy. What's interesting is half the sales we have on that is not HP hard copy. Great example of having a contract, and believe me, I wish I could take credit for it, but it's our customers that are doing that. So the key is the contract. Hey, I got this contract. They walk in, and then they sell everything else. So it's a great opportunity, a great example of getting into a contract and doing a lot of other stuff besides what the contract's there for. But on the federal side, aside from these two, we don't really see our role as going out and getting contracts. We see our role in helping you guys get the contracts, going after the RFPs. When a big RFP hits the street, what we want to do is go out and look at it and say, okay, what vendors, what products would be applicable and meet and exceed those specs? And then we'd reach out to those vendors and say, hey, what is your capture strategy? Some of the vendors would look at us like a deer in the headlight and go, huh, capture strategy. That's when we sit down and have a conversation with them about a capture strategy. And then others are very astute, and they have a capture strategy, and we want to find out what it is because we want to give it to you guys. Are you wasting your time going after this contract because you're not included on the capture strategy? Or could you, if you knew the right person and asked the right question? Is there special pricing? Are they going to provide configurations? All that makes a big difference on who's going to do what. If they're not going to do anything, then SYNNEX will step up and we'll do the tech support and we'll do the configurations and get that out to you. So, you know, that's where we have to coordinate more with the vendor on that, and we're trying to do a much better job. And then we try to bring in everything else that SYNNEX can do to make your proposal bigger, badder, faster, stronger than anybody else's, right? And I'm just talking about all the solves. I'm talking about the storefront solution that we have. I'm talking about our 11 warehouses, you know, where you can put down that you can do staging and rollouts because you have access to these warehouses. Do you need ISO certified full service integration facilities? Well, hey, we got those. I've seen some bids out there that required ISO certification. You know, contract manufacturing. I mean, there's a lot of different things that we can pepper into your proposal. I mean, we're not going to write the proposal, but we can give to you to put into the proposal to make it bigger and badder and stronger and faster. And that's what the game is all about. And then when you win the contract, how can we go deeper and wider on the contract with you? Work with the vendor, work with you and with SYNNEX. What resources can we bring to bear to grow that business within that contract? Because as we all know, is everybody in here selling in the public sector right now? Well, here's the big thing. You can spend a lot of money and a lot of time and win a contract, and it doesn't sell itself. You will sell zero if you don't have a strategy on how you're going to grow the business once you win the contract. And I think we're all guilty of it, people that are in the public sector space, and I am certainly, and SYNNEX is. You win the contract, and you're like, yeah, you high five, do a little chest bump, and then you're like, hey, what's the next contract we can go after? I want to go after this, I want to go after that, because that's cool. When you win a contract, that's really cool. And you know, the tough part really is how are we going to blow it up? How are we going to grow the sales within the contract? And that's where we want to sit down with you and the vendor and strategize. You know, what kind of resources? Do we need some end user demand generation? Do we need some call center support? You know, what is it that we can bring to bear to help you grow that business? And that's where we see ourselves in the federal play. SLED we see is a little differently because it's such a diverse market. It's a lot bigger. Every state's got contracts. I mean, there's 50 states, but there might be 100 different contracts in each state. Regional contracts, co-ops, you know, even national SLED contract vehicles. There's just so much out there. We see our play there is we can go out there and maybe get the contract. Or if the vendor has the contract, maybe we can manage that for them. And the whole idea is to empower you. You know, going back to that word empower, to empower you with another route to market. Hey, we got these contracts you might be able to take advantage of. And that's not always going to be the case. Some vendors are very restrictive, so we can't. But the idea is, as we continue to grow this business, there will be more and more opportunity there for everybody. We own a few contracts right now, North Central EMS Cooperative for rugged mobility. We also, they're buried down here, we've got contracts with K through 12 audiovisual contracts, MEC in Ohio and BOCES in New York. And then we manage a bunch of contracts. So the WSCA contracts are really big for us. Panasonic, HP, Fujitsu, Canon is pending. That's a big opportunity for our partners. Some are a little bit more restrictive than others, but that is the big SLED contract vehicle. Who's here selling into SLED? State local education. Yeah, that's the $4 billion gorilla that's in that market. If they're not selling into state term contract, then typically it's WSCA is the other big player. Texas is a huge state term contract. And when you talk about state term contracts, you got the major leagues and the minor leagues. Major leagues, California, Texas, Ohio, and New York. And those are the big ones. Everybody wants to be on them. They do a lot of business. And the other ones are good, but they're not, I don't think, as strong. Texas is great because unlike a lot of the other states, they have budget, they have money. I mean, they spend a lot of money. So we've been doing really well down there with Panasonic and Canon. And we're actually looking at some other contracts down there. And what we're doing is when we get the contract, well, when we look for a contract, we look to see if it allows for a dealer program. Does it allow for us to make it available to empower our reseller partners? If it does, then that's something we're interested in. We don't sell direct. We're not going down that road. We just want a contract that allows for a dealer, and Texas does. WSCA does. Now, two contracts I didn't mention. I can't get there it goes. CMAS in Ohio. Those are both state term contracts. They both use GSA as a basis of award, which means that if you have a GSA schedule, you can possibly sell and get on that contract and sell what you have on your schedule through those state term contracts. We were just awarded the Ohio State term contract. We only have one vendor on it right now. It's Panasonic, but we're looking to add more. But you have to have it on our GSA schedule to add it to the contract. So we're right now in the process of trying to figure out what other vendor lines we can add to it. It could be a very good contract. CMAS If you're selling into California, California multiple award schedule, that's a state local education, mostly state, but you know, local and education can buy off of it too. And it's a very good contract as well. And we don't go after the contract, we actually help support you go after the contract yourself. So you could get a contract with California, and we authorize you to use our GSA schedules as the basis of award. So meaning that you would agree to sell it to the state of California at the GSA price or lower. And then everything on our GSA schedule qualifies. So, you know, there's some opportunities right there, just the few that I mentioned, that if you're in those states and you're interested, there's some play there. And then we have some other contracts that we're looking at. What makes sense? Again, you know, we're very narrow vision on what makes sense and how we can empower our partners. The contract management piece is really cool because it does help us take care of our manufacturing partners. We have a lot that just, you know, they want to have a little bit more control, but they don't want to manage it. So we feel like we're the middle player. We can help take care of them and then also take care of our reseller partners by giving them another route to market. So we're kind of the matchmaker. And we see that role as something that we can continue to grow and develop. And, you know, we're always looking for advice, suggestions. Because SLED is such a diverse market, where do you see the contracts that are most important? Where do you see it would make more sense for SYNNEX maybe to be in there than you going after it directly, right? So, you know, there's a lot of opportunity there. We just got to continue to look and see what makes sense for all of us so we can all be successful. The financing piece, I just want to mention this because it's very important, as you all are well aware. On the federal side, if you're a small business and you're not using escrow, I would really encourage you to talk to Ben Babb at our office about escrow. When we look at the numbers for our small business partners and how they finance stuff, you know, it's like 40% of our small business partners use escrow. And that's because it allows them to go after set-aside business. And it also allows them to have a much bigger credit line than just your standard terms. So it's a great tool, something you should incorporate into your business. On the SLED side, we have something very similar, but they're not restricted by the assignment of claims on the federal side. So this SLED Advantage is a blind lockbox. They don't allow that in federal. Blind lockbox is basically what it is. It's just a blind lockbox. We clean it, we sweep it. The check comes into that box. So it looks like it's going to you, to this PO box, and then SYNNEX comes in and sweeps it, and then we have a contract with you on how the funds should be dispersed. Again, federal, they used to allow it in federal, and then the Assignment of Claims Act said, you know what, there was too much abuse. So on the escrow side, they have to have a financial institution managing that lockbox. And so in our case, we have U.S. Bank. And they've gotten real competitive. The rates have really dropped, so I would encourage you to look at that. And we can get you in touch with Ben Babb. Some other things that we have that you might be interested in, like on GSA, we've got an improved tool online. So I would encourage you to go out there on our GOVSolv site and look at the GSA pricing tool. It's Access database, and it really works well. You can slice and dice the data any way you like. We have a diversity initiative where if you have a small business status, you may qualify to be part of this program. And the idea is to bring together vendors and partners and offer something more than what they could get just through standard channel. And whether it's pricing rebates, exclusives, you know, special deals, but we're looking for vendors to come in and participate in this alliance. And then we have some exclusive events throughout the year, bringing those partners in with the vendor partners. And so if you've got a small business status, you may qualify. You know, reach out to my team, Jennifer Ely, David McCarter, Randy Finley, and myself, and we could talk a little bit more about how you might be able to take advantage of that diversity program. And part of that diversity program is putting together a strategic partner portal. You know, I go to a lot of these industry events and I preach strategic partnership. And everybody thinks, oh yeah, SYNNEX, oh yeah, the vendor. But a big part of that is partnering with your peers. You know, it's strange. Years ago, you would never say that. But over the years, it seems to be more a common theme that you need to partner with your peers because you can't do it all. You know, do you have all the right vendor authorizations? Are you in the right region? Do you have the right type of services, you know, statuses, contract vehicles? You know, there's a lot of contracts out there where you can leverage. Do you need access to a whisker contract? I can tell you how to get access to one. Do you need access to a soup contract? Everybody here familiar with soup? SCWP? Not Campbell's? It's a NASA. Well, I can tell you there are a couple partners out there that we know that have a dealer program. And so they allow you to leverage off of that. You have to pay them a fee. But their idea is, we're not that big. We won this big contract. It's a GWAC, a government-wide acquisition contract on the federal side, started by NASA. And so it's available to military, civilian, all the way across the boards. And they just didn't feel like that they had the bandwidth to cover it all. You put a substantial investment in getting a contract like that, so you're just trying to maximize it. So they brought in a dealer program, so you have access to that. And that's the name of the game, getting access to these contracts. Like I said, you got to have contracts, and so that's another way to do it. So one of the big areas that we have besides the fact of going in these contracts is a public sector business development team headed up by Randy Finley in the back there. Say hi, Randy.
Hello.
So we have found that the vendors come to us and they want to have an initiative, and we're like, the initiative is great, but you really need to have somebody dedicated, focused on it. If you don't have one neck to choke, then it typically doesn't get the focus that it needs. And so we really feel to be successful, and we can only talk, based on our experience and best practices, having somebody focused on a product, on a vendor line, or on a segment, like a vertical, is very key. And we've had very much success with Randy and his team, and we're continuing to grow that. The reason I bring that up is because I didn't want to say that, he's a tool. He's a tool for you guys. He and his team, take advantage of him. He's there to help support you. So, all of a sudden, instead of being like wigging out, not knowing how to do 100 zillion things that all the small business partners have, I mean, you got so much going on. I don't know how you do it. You can leverage some additional resources from Randy's team. And that's the only reason I bring it up. But, it's a good team. We've had a lot of success. The accounts that he's focused on, what was it? It was 37% growth year over year?
Yes.
So, I mean, that's pretty good. When you get your review, that'll look pretty good. So we also have a certified grant specialist on staff, Tim Evatt. And he's also our E-rate extraordinaire. And he also manages the digital navigator for us. And so, again, I told you I was just going to give you some highlights you might be interested in. That's probably the most important thing. If you're doing SLED and you're not doing the digital navigator, then you're missing out on a great tool. The digital navigator is a business intelligence tool. It's a very expensive license that we bought, and we make it available to our partners. Now, there are some limitations. They don't want big partners to use it, so you can't have brick and mortar in more than 5 states. But if you're less than that, then you have access to this thing, and you can know exactly what's going on in state, local, education, emergency management. You log on, you track it, you can put in flags, it emails you when the things change. It's a great tool. If you're doing SLED, that is what you need to understand what's going on in your market and be an expert, because it'll tell you who the decision makers are, who the incumbents are, what product sets, technology, across all 3 of those verticals. And all you got to do is talk to Tim, and he'll get you set up. It also gives a lot of valuable information about where the budgets are, what states are buying, who the CIOs are, even just contact information. So it's a really good thing to have in your operation. If you're not using it, that'll probably make your day, because it is something that we feel like, where GSA is an anchor to our federal program, we really feel like Digital Navigator is an anchor to our SLED program. Plus Tim's knowledge on E-rate and also the grant program. So the grant program, real quick, I don't know if I have a slide on this. Ah, yes, a slide. So the grant program, we use the Digital Navigator to find the opportunities. We have an agreement with the grant station to find the funding streams. And then we have Tim on hand, so he can talk you through all the complexities of the process. And then we also have discounts with proposal writers in case you don't want to write the proposal. We can get you in touch with a proposal writer that's been vetted, that has offered us a discount, that can write your proposal for that grant. So how great is that? You can go into your customer and say, find the customer, who has, what's going on, and then you can come in and say, hey, I got a funding stream for you. I know a grant that will pay for that. And you know what? I bet you that customer would spend every last dime with you. That's a pretty good program. So take advantage of it. Talk to Tim Evatt. He's there. No silver bullet. Everybody asks me what the silver, what's the magic, the silver bullet in public sector, and there's no silver bullet. It's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of just touching the customer. I mean, it's no different than outside of public sector. But I would say that, strategic partnerships and contracting are very key to growing your public sector business. I'm sorry, I'm just going to go through. One last slide. I told you, this hasn't been too boring, has it? No one's fallen asleep. I had one gentleman, he was just sitting right here and he was just nodding back and forth, and I thought, that's just tough. I mean, come on. So this is wrong. 2013, I want to bring this up because I think you came to this event, you should come to some other ones. We have a red, white, and you. That is, it's not equal to this, but everybody says next to this, it's the best thing you got. It's 2.5 days, or this time it's going to be 2 days, of just public sector content, meetings, speakers, chance to develop strategic partnerships with your peers and your vendors. So it's going to be in Orlando this year. It's right after Varnex. I would hope that every one of y'all come down. We'll make it worth your time. We're also doing a lot of other events. We're a big sponsor of Exchange Public Sector. We also do a lot of local shows and national shows. You know, it's just, these things are all baked into a marketing plan. We pitch it to our vendors, and then, you know, whatever flies, flies. So we're in the process of developing that right now. But we always do these things, right? We do the grant E-rate trainings. We have 35 weekly webinars, and honestly, they've been well attended. We've had at times 40 or 50 people, whether it's GSA 101, whether it's learning about grants, whether it's a vendor-specific one. They're really good. They're not that long. They're about 30 minutes. And you can just log into our site down here, and you can see the schedule, and then, you know, check it out. And then as far as Diversity Alliance, we have several meetings and trainings throughout the year. So that is our marketing plan. That's what we pitch to this is just a very small part, but what we pitch to our vendors. And we're hope that you will participate with us next year. So, because Shiloh was first, go ahead.
I am Shiloh with Edge Memory. That's our memory, our solid state drives in there. They have a huge presence all over the U.S. and the world. We actually have some offices in Latin America separate from the channel business. But channel business is our focus. I've been focusing on SYNNEX for 5 years now, and they are definitely my favorite, the best distributor that we've ever worked with. As far as quality goes, we are a Tier 1 manufacturer, so you really never have to worry about quality with us. We're making all of our memory the same way that all the OEMs are. So we're using the same chips that HP's using, the same chips that all the big OEMs are using. Everything is engineered to specs. We have over 150 machines in our compat lab, and we're continually adding to that. Anytime Apple puts out a new machine or the new Gen 8 servers, you know, we're putting all those in our compat lab, testing everything before we will release it and say that it's compatible. So once it's released, you know that it's gone through rigorous testing and that we're going to stand behind it. Everything is double tested. So it not only tests once, but it tests again before it ships out. So again, it's going to work when you get it. We also, to stand behind our quality, we do have a lifetime warranty on all of our memory modules and a 5-year warranty on all of our solid state drives. 5 years doesn't sound like a lot, but it's the longest in the industry, 5 years. Also, we do have a full support team who is there to help you. You can call them, talk to them on the phone. They are in our warehouse in Austin, Texas, so if they need to get up and walk on the floor, walk on the manufacturing floor, look at something, put things through extra quality rounds, they can do that for you. So they're not separated, they're right there with the products. We also do overnight replacements, so if something, God forbid, happens, you get them on the phone, they'll ship something out that day if we have it in stock. Solid state drives, we are putting a ton of research and development into solid drives. We've been doing them for 25 years now, but solid state drives are, I'm sure as you were hearing, the latest and greatest and where we feel like this market is going. We now have solid state drives for everything from ultrabooks all the way up to high-end servers and everything in between. You'll see some of our various solid states are on here. Right in the middle we have our PCIe SSD, which we just launched. Very robust, extremely fast. Those are going up to 960 gigs now. Also, since this is GOVSolv, public sector, everything is made in Austin, Texas. So TAA compliant, made in the US. You never have to worry about that one more hurdle that you get over. Also, if you'll notice at the bottom, we have a 10% off purchase of SSDs for SYNNEX customers. This is just a little blurb again about US manufacturing. We are very, very proud to manufacture our memory and SSDs in the US, and that's one of the things that we want everyone to take away from this. not only do you get quality, but everything is right there in-house in Austin. So again, everyone can go out there and touch it. If things need to be tweaked, if something, if there's a controller that needs a certain spec on it, we can do that for you. We have that ability to make things to spec. The Super Reseller Program. Quality is great, everything works, but as resellers, it's always nice when you can get some money on the back end as well. We offer a 3% back end rebate program. It is just a check. It's every month that you sell over $5,000. You don't have to keep track of anything. SYNNEX sends us a POS report every month. It's on every SKU, every product that we have out there. It's very easy. To sign up, basically, we just need to know where the check goes. And along with that, we have a standard 1% GovEd discount. So you're getting 3% on the back end, 1% on the front end. It's great. Why not? Now I'll pass it along.
I guess I'm next.
You are lucky number 2.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Pat Henry. I'm head of our business and government unit for Promethean. And quick story about Ed. Last year Q1, I was asked to lead our company into the federal market and public sector out of K-12. I don't know if you've heard of Promethean before, but we're primarily in schools around the country, around the world. So I heard a lot of acronyms in Ed's presentation, and one I had to learn about was called TAA, Trade Act Agreement and Compliance Act. And what that means, if your products are made in China, you have to get in compliance. So went through that process of getting our products compliant, and then I heard stories about getting on GSA, and it could take 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, maybe not at all. So talked to Ed about getting us on the SYNNEX GSA, and he set the expectation, well, this could take some time, but we'll get right on it. And I get a call the next day, and I'm on GSA. Was that 24? Was that a record, Ed?
I think it was like 12 hours. Right?
12 hours. Yeah, so blew us away. We weren't ready for that, that quick a response and all, but it's been great, and it relieved us and allowed us to go to market very quickly, and all of you can take advantage of that. So Promethean, we focus in the public sector space in what we call interactive training and collaboration, and that's a very broad use case, but we're getting good traction. I'll show you some of the customers that have come to us over the last year. But let's see, which one did I hit there? That one, okay. So we're not a household name outside of the K-12 space, but we're a global company. We're a public company. We're based out of England, and we went public last year. But we're in over 1 million classrooms around the world, so we have scale all over the world. We're in 100 countries, and our revenue is about $350 million. So we're substantial in the space where they were coming from. This is, hopefully, you got by either the GOVSolv booth or the GOVSolv booth, but we had our new mobile interactive whiteboard called the ActiveBoard 500 in the booth. And that's a configuration that's been received very well in the public sector markets because it can be moved from room to room. You can lower and raise the board and then move it about. It's the mobile stand, it has laptop tray and all that there. And then we have products, which is whoops.
Hey Ed, do you know if the stand, not just the system, is on schedule? Do you know?
I'm sorry?
If the stand as well as the system is on schedule?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Both of them are?
It's all skewed up on the same SKU, right?
Yeah, they're all there. Yeah. All that's there. We have different board sizes, 78, 87, and 95. We have the 78 and the 87 on the schedule along with the stand. Okay, it is there. Then we have software add-ons. We have a plug-in for PowerPoint that's being well received. Like, for example, the Department of Defense, they live on PowerPoint. Just give them a way to annotate and share that annotation in a PowerPoint and email it out to someone. So very simple things to all of us, but those are the kind of enhancements that we do. We have a product called Active Engage, which allows you to get, if I could take this audience, I want to find out what your top priorities were with our devices or putting our software on an iPad or a laptop or an iPhone, I can very quickly find out what you're thinking, what your priorities are, and display them on a board. We just launched in January, this is in the lower right-hand corner, an Active Table, which is a Windows Surface device. You can have up to 16 touches. It's really cool. We've used the Windows Surface SDK to develop an education application, but we're getting ready to do more and branch out into that. And then I'm assuming with the big launch of Windows 8, it's going to even be better in terms of what you can do with the Windows 8 SDK. But that's been very well received. It's a 46-inch surface diagonal, so it's the largest table in the market right now. So we've had great acceptance there. And then just finally, we're showing our software on the different devices, be it an Android or Apple OS. We can load our software in both of those, okay? Oops. Okay. So anyhow, one of the things that we've done is in the K-12 world, it's called an interactive whiteboard. But what I've found being well received in these markets is just call it a giant tablet. It's a big 87-inch diagonal tablet. And what we've been able to do is to take two technologies, what we call electromagnetic, which is driven by a pen, a stylus, along with capacitive technology, which is what's in your iPad or your iPhone. We've layered them so that now you have the combination of using pen and touch in a very natural way. So if you want to draw a line, you could grab a ruler with your hand and draw with the pen. So it's a very natural interaction the way you use the board. And touch is something new to Promethean. That's something we brought with our 500 series. And it's absolutely essential to have it in this market because everybody, we really want them to walk up and use our technology, and touch gives them that capability. And when we see Windows 8 coming, we think there's going to be even more exciting features available. But what we're exploiting today is Windows 7 has tablet computing functionality in there, but you never know it's there unless you have a tablet computer. Our interactive whiteboard, or giant tablet as I like to call it, looks like a giant tablet or tablet to Windows 7. So immediately we take advantage of touch gestures, the same thing you can do on the tablets today. There's a really cool digital keyboard that will accept normal typing into as an input, or you can have handwriting recognition. And the handwriting recognition in this is amazing. And you can tune it so that it learns your handwriting, and you can pipe information. If we're scribing this meeting, we could be scribing notes into PowerPoint on the fly. It's very powerful what it can do. Then the other thing that people don't know is Microsoft Office 2007 and 10 have tablet functionality in there. So how cool it would be to have a collaborative meeting where you make notes into an Excel spreadsheet and say, I want to change this and this, or in a Word document, you can do that. And we demo all day long in a collaborative, remote setting where we'll show, let's work on this big spreadsheet, this type of thing, and show that. It gets people really excited. This is just an image of OneNote, which has got some very powerful features in it as well. So all of these have tablet functionality built into it. Then the last application is Microsoft Surface Globe. Has anybody seen this in action? It's their answer to Google Earth, and it's a true multi-touch application. So I can take a map and zoom and pan and whatever, and it's connected to Bing Maps. But we show this at all types of conferences, and it lights people up because they see a true multi-touch application in action, either on our whiteboard, our vertical surface, or the horizontal surface. A very exciting application. And I have to think that when Windows 8 comes, there's just going to be a ton of applications that are true multi-touch driven and very powerful in what they can do. So I found this is Gartner's statement about Windows 8. Now, there's been many sessions here about Windows 8, but I thought it was interesting that they're talking about IT getting behind Windows 8. Now, what I've experienced as I've been roaming around the federal market is, yeah, there's iPads out there and iPhones, that type of thing, but there's continued pushback because they're difficult to secure and difficult to manage in an enterprise setting. Typically they are. And what we think is going to happen is there's going to be a big embrace by IT for Windows 8 because it's a Surface tablet to enterprise type operating system with all that capability built in there. So I think this is going to be a big push. It's an exciting time to be there. We've already tested our products with Windows 8 and they rock and roll with Windows 8. It's just a natural combination of our multi-touch board with Windows 8. So what are the use cases for our systems? Training is number one. And I looked up the other day how much corporate and government in North America spend every year on training. Would anybody guess what that number is? Just throw a number out.
3 billion.
$171 billion.
That's close.
Okay. I thought the same thing. I thought $3 billion, that's a good sized number. $171 billion. A third of that is spent on technology.
I wasn't counting your voice.
There you go. Right. So, and the good news is for products like ours is that 60% of the time the training is done in an instructor-led classroom. And whether you're in the Navy, all over, everybody's doing training. So it's a great use case there. It's a big opportunity there. Single room collaboration, we know what that is. Multi-room if you're doing, distributed. And then giant dashboard applications. And I'm working with FEMA in Atlanta. This is the group that manages hurricanes, coming up through Florida and the Gulf. And they have our systems in their control rooms, and they're using that to brief teams. They have geographic teams that say, okay, it's going to hit your area next. And they roll it around and they brief the teams using very powerful mapping tools like, if you're familiar with Esri's ArcGIS, it just works perfectly with our board and the way they present that. So some exciting applications there. Command and control, military, that's big. There's lots of things that we see them using. Homeland security, the same type of thing. So anywhere where there's a need for data visualization and a large surface that you can share with a group, it's ideal. And again, these can be connected into a life-size system, Cisco, telepresence, that type of thing, so they can interact with those systems as well. Okay, and this is where, and again, we're new to this marketplace, and a lot of these organizations, and these are some, household names, but FEMA I've already mentioned, Job Corps, the VA. The VA, as we bring our military back to America to retrain and all, there's a massive opportunity there within the VA centers. Army Corps of Engineers just put the system in their headquarters in Pittsburgh. We're in every branch of the military, all the big primes, Northrop Grumman, Boeing, Lockheed Martin. So there's great opportunity there, and also you'll see Knoxville Police up there, state and local. There's the Homeland Security is passing money down to the state and local entities to get prepared for emergencies. And there's money out there for 2013 that you can go talk to your local state authorities, local authorities or state, and ask them what they're doing. Okay, so good opportunity out there. So I'll just close with, we're excited to be here and working with SYNNEX. We're looking for partnerships and growing our business. And we're very excited about the capability that Windows 8 is going to bring to our product set. Thank you.
Is this third and last? It's not going to be last, right? No. Pretty good. You guys are pretty bad. You're always last. So I'm Eric Tuttle. I'm with Life Science Communications, so a division of Logitech. Anybody stop by the booth, kind of see our stuff? I recognize a few of you. There you go. I remember you just a few minutes ago. Excellent. So we do high definition video collaboration. And I want to stress the word collaboration because when you think of video conferencing, which is how people kind of define us, you're really kind of leaving out about half of what we really do and what the video market is all about. It is about collaboration, especially when you start talking about some of the verticals and applications I'm going to take you through. It's all about not just delivering that video image, but also delivering that content, right? So I'm going to kind of go through this. I went the right way? I did. And I thought it would just sort of be helpful for you to understand. We don't really have a vertical sales team. We just don't segment ourselves that way. We feel that every business, commercial, public sector, everyone has a need for video conferencing. And really our goal, or video collaboration, and our goal is to replace the telephone eventually. And we want to make that video call as seamless as making any audio call, and that's really where it's going. So I do want to talk about education, talk a little bit about state and local government, also federal government, and how we play there. If we did verticalize, education would be our largest vertical by far. So again, some of the applications, obviously distance learning, that's kind of natural. That's been going on for since the advent of video conferencing or video collaboration. But there's really more to just the distance learning, right? Community outreach type programs, parent-teacher meetings, student-produced content. Give the technology to students and allow them to develop projects and assignments around video conferencing. We're into multiple generations now of kind of being visual learners, right? I mean, my generation, I'm 45 years old. I grew up with MTV and Atari, right? And it's all kind of, you know, gotten better, you know, since then. My kids now, you know, work the YouTube, right? So that's how they learn. And, you know, we just, you know, the paradigm has changed, and, you know, it's a touchy, feely, visual type world. That's just how our kids learn. One of the things I want to mention that we do a lot of, and I found it was interesting that Ed's one slide talked about in 2012, the overall education revenues were shrunk a little bit from 2011. We're seeing the opposite effect, because what we see with video collaboration is it's a budget saving measure more than a budget expense, right? So virtual field trips, for instance, rather than firing up the buses and getting, you know, 180 signatures from parents to let the school take their kids to the local zoo. So, you know, instead of firing up the buses and going to the Greenville Zoo and spending all that money, why don't we take our kids to the San Diego Zoo today, right? So we've got partners all over the country, all over the world, really. Zoos, museums, places where, you know, aquariums, places where kids go on field trips, and we bring that field trip to them. We do that monthly. You'll see information on lifesize.com. You can, you know, have your customers sign up to attend one of those and kind of, you know, learn a little bit about what that's all about. So education is, again, by far our largest vertical. We're doing very well. Our business is growing there. And then probably the second in the public sector anyway is state and local government. So some of the applications, and you can see up here, this is actually a real application we did with the state of Idaho, where all of the court systems in the state of Idaho now have a video conferencing unit, an endpoint, in the judges' chambers, and they're doing visual or virtual arraignments, virtual parole hearings. Again, there's an expense associated with transporting that prisoner from the jail cell to the courthouse. It also happens to be the time when the prisoner tries to, you know, beat up the guards and get away. So there's a safety issue there as well. But it doesn't take long to kind of peel back the onion when you're talking to your customers and show them the ROI. And a lot of it has to do with, number one, transportation costs or travel costs if you're talking to a commercial business. And then kind of the second thing is there's a green ROI to this as well, right? And, you know, especially in the federal government and in commercial businesses, there's some tax advantages, you know, to go in green. There's not a greener technology on the planet than this, because instead of, you know, getting on an airplane and flying to St. Louis for a meeting, I can, you know, stay at home and do that and spend no fossil fuels whatsoever to do that, except for maybe what my coffee pot generates, right? So some of the applications, emergency management, collaborating between departments. I mentioned, you know, video arraignments and scheduled court hearings and things like that, public meetings, and of course research and training. I failed to mention one really important application actually in the education space. We have a product solution called Video Center. When I saw research and training there, it sort of jogged my memory there. Video Center is a live streaming, storage, and retrieval video solution, right? So I'm a teacher giving a lecture to a room full of students. I can actually record that lecture, and as I'm recording it, it's streaming out to a website. So we have a student at home that is sick or whatever and can't make that lecture. They can actually watch that lecture live. As soon as I stop recording, that lecture is actually stored onto a hard drive, sitting out in the cloud somewhere on a VMware server, and I can go and call that recording up, you know, later on, right? So it's live streaming, storage, and retrieval. So you can imagine the benefit there for K through 12, higher ed, or really any corporation that's doing training. So finally, the federal government. I just want to mention a couple things here. You know, we do have some important business going on right now in the federal government. Actually working with SYNNEX at the Department of Defense Education Academy. So kind of a combination there of Fed and education wrapped into one opportunity, where they're actually sending. You know, there's lots of bases all around the world, and the kids of these soldiers go to school all around the world, right? So they're using Lifesize in places like Japan and Germany and the UK, all over the world. So We won that contract through SYNNEX partner. We do have some key certifications if you are selling to the Department of Defense. So we're JITIC certified, we're FIPS 140-2 certified, and we're also on the Army approved products list. So if you are selling into the DoD, those are important things to have. And we're going to kind of talk about our new website because it's really kind of it's a great tool for anybody who is in the public sector. So a couple different sites up here. We're very segmented on our website. So if you're focused on education, you can go out to the education section on our website under verticals, and you can download case studies. You can look at our various solutions, the benefits. We have ROI calculators, which is really how you sell this technology. If you start talking to a customer and find out where they're spending their money on travel, on transportation, what it might be, it doesn't take long to get to an ROI, and we have tools out on the website to teach you how to get there. Industry news, upcoming events. We also have a grant program. Cindy Joffron is our person that handles grants. She's been working with Tim Evett. They talk quite regularly. Lots of money out there for grants. Video conferencing is also E-ratable, if that's a word. Is that a word yet? E-ratable. Yeah, we'll make it a word. So we do a lot of education and business with E-rate. So just a couple of the sites. We've got some public safety type solutions out there. I don't know if you saw in our booth, we have a product called ClearSee, which is basically video conferencing on a laptop or on an iPad. So take a ruggedized, Panasonic type laptop, put it in a squad car, and talk to that dispatcher, face to face. Again, it's not just the face-to-face video conferencing aspect of it, but now that dispatcher can actually push me information, right? She can share, or he can share their content with me. So I can now see a mugshot of the person that I'm actually looking for on the street. So that's pretty much it, my 8-minute elevator pitch. And there's a solution here. I wanted to say that at Infocom last year, we actually put our solution up on a Promethean board, which was like something like 90 inches, and it was awesome. So if you like what you saw on our booth today, imagine it on a big 90-inch screen. We're really vendor agnostic when it comes to displays and carts and mounts and stuff like that. There's a whole solution there that you need to be aware of that. And I think that's it. Thank you, Eric. Mike Mercer from Panasonic. Sure, on last year, right?
We actually had a coworker who was supposed to do this, so I just found out about it, so I assumed I was last. But I'm Mike Mercer with Panasonic, and I appreciate you mentioning Panasonic, and mentioned Promethean too, so we owe you something.
There you go.
Let's see. I want to start off. We're obviously, well, first of all, who's doing business with Panasonic now in the government side? So just one. Okay. Good. So there's opportunity in the room. But we do a lot. We basically founded our Toughbook product in the government market. So the federal government, military, and public sector, which internally we refer to the public sector as public safety, basically. So public safety, and then your DOT and city works and stuff like that. But the majority of the business is going to cities and states and counties is going on the public safety side when it comes to mobile computing. So I assumed we had a little more familiarity with the Toughbook product, but I'll go into that some. Some of these slides are based more on the video side because that's something a little more new for us, and I didn't want to bore a lot of government folks with the Toughbook pitch that maybe you've already heard 100 times. So here's where the money's going. 75% of this goes to law enforcement, which for us, where the majority of our business on the public safety side is Toughbooks, that's great, because those are the guys with the most vehicles on the road. So it's the largest opportunity to put laptops in a mobile environment. Fire and EMS are both splitting the other 25%. So here is the Toughbook line. For those of you not familiar, we really our bread and butter on the government side is on the fully rugged product. So that is the 31 here, and then the 19 in the middle. Those two make up the majority of our government fully rugged business. But we see a lot of business go to the semi-rugged products. Large opportunities with the Army. They actually have some of their special forces folks that they buy these because they're less expensive, but they still have like a 3% annual failure rate. Your average laptop has about a 15%, so it makes a big difference. These are a lot cheaper, so they can go, they can do their thing, they can leave it in the desert and just pull the hard drive and run. And that's why they buy that a lot of times. But we've got a full breadth of product on the mobile side to cover everybody. So these are going to go into a fire truck or a police car, that kind of thing. The chief of police is going to carry something like that, or detective. We have products, taser works here. Stuff like this or that works great on a motorcycle, so does that. And then we've got a tough pad coming out, which we've talked a lot about in some of the other sessions, so hopefully you've had a chance to see that. Really excited about that. An area that we've moved from a little bit on the tough book side a few years ago now, is we moved into the area of mobile video. So these are products that if you've, hopefully you haven't seen it from the back seat or from the hood of the car, but if you see a video on the news of a police chase and it's coming from the cop's car, and this is the kind of system that's recording that. The difference is a lot of cars out there still have VHS systems. They're very old. It's getting very difficult to find VHS tapes now. So this is a system that's all digital, runs on solid state cards. You have no moving parts in the recording. So this guy's running over railroad tracks at 80 miles an hour. He's not having a hard drive that's going to skip and fail, or you know, anything with moving part that's going to fail because of vibration or heat or anything like that. It is a tough book product. It goes through a lot of the same military spec tests that we test our laptops to. And our system will actually support multiple cameras. So instead of just the video of the guy on the hood there, maybe his buddy ran and you've got somebody on the back, or he's pulled evidence out and he's lined it up on the back of the hood, which happens. And so you have video of that part of it as well as anything going on the sides of the car. So it's a thorough, it's where the 360 and arbitrary 360 comes from. It gives a full view around the vehicle. Supports up to 4 audio channels, so that the cops can wear a wireless mic. That way when they're outside of the car, you can hear what he's saying. When he approaches the vehicle, everything that he says is recorded, so the person in that car who doesn't like being pulled over and wants to go tell the chief that he called him a name or something like that, they can pull the tape and pull the video, and they know whether or not that's true. There's also microphones that are in the vehicle, so when they throw the bad guy in the back, and they throw his buddy in there too, and they start talking while the cops out searching their car, they have everything that they're saying in there. So keep that in mind. So 6 upload options are a big thing. So that obviously with VHS tape, you get the video out of the car by pulling the VHS tape and taking it in, and it gets stored in an evidence locker, which ends up after 10 years of storing tapes looking like a library of VHS movies, or a blockbuster from 1985. So with this stuff, we've got several different options of getting it out of the car. You've got a wireless transfer, so the car pulls in the parking lot, and the server that's sitting in the evidence locker now is connected to their network with an outdoor antenna, and it's constantly looking for cars coming in. And once they come in and start talking to each other, it's uploading video off of the car. So the officer never touches it. The officer can't throw that tape away if he did do something he wasn't supposed to do. The chain of custody is kept very secure. And obviously for security, this stuff is all encrypted too, so nothing can be done to alter the video. So those are some of the main points on that system. And really how we see this working is, we've got our server in the server room here with a couple of clients. Guy pulls up, and so his video is going in here, but our clients, we don't charge a license fee per client. So you buy one arbitrator system that gets put in here, you get the software that goes on the server, and you can load it on every laptop in the city if you want to. But they can put it in the patrol room, evidence room. All these guys can see the video. They can have access to the sergeant here, maybe only has access to the guys who report directly to him. The captain can probably see every platoon's videos, and so it goes by rights of who gets to access what. So that's where we kind of got into the video market on the public sector side, but actually expanding. This is the brains of our whole system. That's the file management side. So these are where the arbitrator videos go. And arbitrary 360 is where this started. Well, we now have a wearable camera. So when that cop goes into a house because of a domestic call or a fight or something's going on, he actually can wear a camera that has motion software. So if he's running or wrestling, we can keep that video very stable. If the thing gets turned sideways, it has a gyro in it to alter the video to make it still look upright. We've got video that we can now put in the jail for surveillance, obviously, city hall, stuff like that. Interview rooms, forensics images, and so it doesn't have to be video. We can put photographs, mug shots, anything that can be scanned in and can be a digital file can be stored in the system, as well as LPR, which is license plate recognition files. So a lot of times you'll see a cop car on the highway that has these big black cameras around the back of it. We don't make that hardware, but what those cameras are doing is they're looking at license plates and picking them off of databases of Amber Alerts and warrants and terrorists and all that kind of stuff. So the car actually tells the driver through hopefully his tough book that he's using that, hey, you have a suspected terrorist, and it flashes up a picture of the car and everything. So all this technology is out there, and it's all opportunities that a lot of our resellers aren't touching. They're still just pushing tough books. And this is kind of part of our new move into an overall solution as opposed to just selling one or two of our products. Let's try to combine everything that we do into an overall solution for your customer. It'll get you more business, and it'll get you some ownership of that account. So outside of even law enforcement, talked about security at City Hall. We have street cameras all over Times Square. We've got obviously school cameras. All this stuff can report back, and you can give the command and control. So the chief of police and the higher folks there can have access if there is an incident at one of these kind of high priority places. They can quickly log into all these videos and watch them live. It's all going through 4G, so even from the vehicle itself, the captain can log in and watch what that officer is doing if they're in a chase or something like that. Wide area surveillance, this is more of the same, except some of these cameras, like what we would have in City Hall or that kind of thing, high priority location. Actually, there's software we don't make, but we party with these types of third party software manufacturers that have facial recognition, things like that. And so they're looking at who's coming in and out of the buildings, and they're able to ping that off the databases. And so that's really it. Went through that really fast. Hopefully you guys get to come by our booth. We had a lot of our new products and everything there, so appreciate your time. Thanks.
Last but certainly not least, we have Danny.
We're going to divide and conquer, is that all right?
That's fine.
Be quick about it.
I don't know who he is, but here's
So Darren Mock, I got state and local. So Danny's federal. And I think we can probably announce you guys are officially done with PowerPoint. Right?
It's done.
Right? So we have no slides. You guys, I think, as Lenovo, we hit the limit after David this morning on stage. No more. Now I'm showing more PowerPoint. So I'm not going to talk about our industry-leading quality on our products. I'm not going to reiterate the recent manufacturing announcement and bring manufacturing back to the U.S. in Whitsett, North Carolina. I'm actually based out of the Raleigh office. I am going to talk about the focus to public sector. And it's, we could actually double up some of the charts he showed earlier. Historically, we have had a SLED organization. What Lenovo did really well is focus on the ed part of that. And a lot of people know, you guys in the room, that S&L takes a little bit more focus, and quite frankly, it's a tougher sell. So we would have a sales team out there that was responsible for state, local, for education, kind of everything that fell under that window. And we saw kind of historically over the years, the state and local, the municipalities would get neglected because they were going after K-12, they were going after higher ed. Where for multiple reasons, education is still a very big focus, but I think a lot of you guys have seen, based on kind of a mind shift in managing IT on a campus, as well as some of the emerging products. Higher education is kind of an evolving marketplace. Obviously, still big focus in K-12, centralized managed IT, but state and local, and again, I'm kind of preaching to the choir, we're the last one into a recession, but because tax revenues are still there, and then as we start to recover, we start heading back up, state and local is going to have money to spend. We see it in pockets now, very familiar with some of the contracts he was mentioning earlier, and we want to be well positioned. So we've now got a dedicated inside and outside state and local sales team. We're just 6 months kind of getting off the ground, but again, this has given us dedicated both sales in the field as well as an inside team based in our Morrisville headquarters that is solely dedicated to knowing backwards and forwards those contracts. In each of the states, again, some of the same groups you were mentioning, jumping through, very familiar with Texas, Ohio, and some of the others you mentioned, as well as really putting together a cohesive strategy. We had kind of piecemealed it before, and I'll be honest, I as a piece of some of the previous organization. And a lot of the success we had was almost accidental, just because it was a, it was a piece of some of the K-12 focus. So what you're going to see from Lenovo going forward, you've heard this morning about a lot of the kind of the corporate direction. I won't talk too much more about that, but a real focus in public sector. It's a growth area for us. You hear it here, at SYNNEX. And by the way, as we're getting off the ground, the only way we grow this thing is through our partners and channel. We don't have the feet on the street to blanket the country. We've got a focus in the U.S. Again, an inside and outside sales team, but we absolutely are leveraging the channel. We've won a couple of large state contracts through resellers and distribution. So very, very much channel focused. I did want to go ahead and give a couple minutes, since I don't want to totally hijack it, to introduce Danny Dubois to comment on our federal focus. Obviously, Danny, we brought him over. He's 20 years of federal experience, and we just want to comment on some of the things we're doing in the federal space.
Sure. Real quickly, just think about it this way. TAA compliant, we're going to build it in the U.S. in January. We're working with, out of the 160 plus agencies in the federal space, we're probably working with about 60 of them now and growing pretty rapidly. And we are completely channel focused. So, I think that's the best way to look at it. If you have any other questions, I'll answer anything you need to.
Hey Dan, are you TA compliant today?
TA compliant today out of Monterrey, Mexico. Yeah. So yeah, our facility sits right down the street from HP's. A lot of people don't know that. People think we built out of China.
I like Mexicans. No one knows. Is your stuff on their GSA, or how?
So we own our own.
Who's managing your GSA?
Yeah, so we own our own GSA schedule. SYNNEX has our products on their schedule, and we're off and running. Now we are going to do a rewrite of our schedule coming up in the next 40 days. That's going to allow our schedule to be a little bit more accessible by everyone, including SYNNEX. And the other thing I would say, the last point is, we are going to bring up a program inside of SYNNEX specifically around the federal space.
And there are boxes today that we could sell as new.
Yep, absolutely.
Is it all, any and all, some of them?
So it's really the Think line is everything that's TAA based. So, T series, 430s, 530s. So probably if you want to, we can sit and talk about it, but it's really all the business lines that tie into the Fed space we're selling. We gave you back time.
Yeah, we did. Saved 5 minutes. So I don't think it's necessarily necessary to bring everybody up here to sit down. Are there any questions you want to ask any of the presenters, myself, or any of the ones that want after them? Any questions at all?
I guess digital navigator, those sort of things. Who are the contacts? I have a lot of questions on things that you went over.
Okay, digital navigator would be Tim Evatt, and his email is real easy. It's time, @synnex.com. And his extension is 4005. You have our 800 number? Okay. Contracts, Heather Hunter. State contracts, Heather Hunter. Randy Finley, you can talk to him about GSA or state contracts?
I've already do some.
Okay.
So Ed, or Randy, could you guys expand on the best ways that we can use our field, what are they called, outside sales? What are the best ways we can leverage them or use them?
Oh, the outside sales reps?
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a whole team of outside sales reps nationwide. We actually have 3 in the DC area. Roy Hopkins is actually he's just public sector focused, federal focused. And then Bob Quick is enterprise, and then I can't think of the gentleman's name that does SID components.
Troy Hutchinson.
So would you want to elaborate on how partners can leverage those?
Yeah, really the outside team is really out there to help partner with you folks and help you develop a long-term, a plan, a strategy. If you're pursuing public sector or any type of business at all, they could come in and sit down with you and make sure that you understand what SYNNEX can do. And hopefully during this conference you've learned that we're just not a pick-pack type of distributor anymore. We have a lot more solution-based offerings that we can help enhance what you do so you can be successful. So the outside field reps are out there to help you, sit down with you and come up with a long-term plan, make sure that you understand all our solutions, all our solves, to make you a better reseller, to make you better than the guys down the street that are just chasing bids or pushing boxes and not offering any true value. So that's what really the outside guys can bring to the table.
But probably, I mean, we can get you the contact information. It's just reaching out to them.
I've talked to her. I mean, I obviously know who Roy is. I'm not sure we're leveraging, maybe it's just me, leveraging our outside.
Well, I think it's a good point. I mean, it's fairly new to the organization, but they're rapidly expanding it because they just see there's a need out there. And for us, we just need a presence in the DC area. We have a warehouse in Chantilly, but we never really had anybody. Bob Quick helped us out, but you know, there's a lot of activity going on in DC. We need some more presence there. And so you can use these guys however you would like. You need to have some assistance going into an end user. You need some contacts with vendors. You need them to make the connections. That's what we're there for. So I would just ask them the question. Any other questions? For any of the vendors? All right, well, listen, I really appreciate your time. Thank you. And thank you for coming to the conference, and have a good evening.
Everyone, one last thing. If you have not gotten your yellow wristband, when you leave here, please stop at